And it is welcome to the Sunday service. It has landed. Yes, it has. We are here, and it's very important to be here on this beautiful Sunday. Well, actually, it's not very beautiful. It's quite grey outside, really, and a little bit drizzly. But a bit different from last Sunday. Last Sunday was really, really incredibly nice. Someone has just wished me a happy second channel anniversary, Bob. This channel is like 8 years old. Although the Sunday service might be 2 years old, so that could be it, I suppose. I'm very delighted to have you all attached and in here as usual. This is the last week, if you're watching on YouTube and not listening on the podcast, this is the last week that the Sunday service will exist on this channel. It will be moved to its own channel, as I'm being told by YouTube that it's probably a good idea to move it all out, and that people want their own channel. They want their own Sunday service channel because it's become that kind of big. So that's cool. We're going to do some live events and stuff as well. So what I'm going to do is go over to our Facebook page. We have a Sunday service community Facebook page. If you want to go there, you can go and check it out. It's a closed group, and I'll post a link to the new Sunday service channel, the one that is on the way, and there's no videos on it, no nothing. But I've done all the channel art this morning. I've set the channel up as best I can. It's not going to be monetized in any way unless I can figure out a way of doing it in a sensible version. I don't want to be blasted with ads the whole time. And I'm hoping that we're going to get enough people together to make the Sunday service its own sort of thing. It's great to have people checking in with me already. It was really good. Cross is here. Happy second channel anniversary is here. For some reason, that's the username. Brian Cullen is here. James Dunn has arrived as well, the bus driver. Andrew McAfee has sent his apologies. He won't be here today. He has to work. He is also a bus driver up in Northern Ireland, I think. And he's keeping this channel tidy here every single week. And I'm looking at a different screen entirely than I've ever looked at before, which is the live stream held channel, which actually shows me, but like 2 minutes ago. So I'm 2 minutes in the future, kids. Keep it that way, just to mess with your head. Hopefully you're enjoying your Sunday. I've actually had a couple of approaches recently from radio stations to do this as a radio show. So it's totally possible. Totally possible. That can happen. We'll see. We'll see what happens as time goes on. I have 30,000 subs. Yeah, I've 30,000 and a half or something like that subscribers. It's been a long growth to this point. Loads of other people are trying to do videos at the moment as well. That's cool. Some new players in the market. Some old hands have come on to make new videos as well. It's always good because competition is good. First, it makes everybody else improve, but secondly, it also gives you an idea of where you live in the market. So competition is always a nice thing to have. Brian Cullen asks how I find a Duster. I am driving a Dacia Duster this week, which is the top spec one. I think they call it Prestige is the top spec one. It is a DCI, the 1.5 DCI engine with a 6-speed gearbox. It's got its good points, it's got its bad points. There's only so much you can forgive about the price of it. You know, you're looking at the price of the Duster, you kind of go, wow, that's actually really affordable compared to what you get in the market. But if you look at, a good point was made to me the other day, if you look at the Renault Kadjar, it's about $4,000 more expensive for the 1.2 litre petrol Kadjar over the Dacia Duster. You know, and you get all the same stuff basically, only it's more modern tech that's in it. The only difference in the whole lot. Where are we down the list? Hi there, visited Dublin but don't run into you. Sorry about that. If I don't live in Dublin. Ireland is such a beautiful country. It is. It's a gorgeous country. Even when it's raining, it's got its plus points. We're very friendly people, really. But I don't actually live in Dublin. Although I do pretty much know everybody from Dublin. That's an Irish thing, really, isn't it? No matter where you go, you run into someone that you meet or know from somewhere else or some other part of the world. It's usually quite nice to meet people you know. I'm going to have to get a light for the video, I think. I might have to do that. It might be best to get a light in there somewhere. I use a window at the moment, but on dull days like this, it's actually quite dark, I have to say. But that's okay. At least the Sunday service went extremely smoothly this week. The first week I've actually clicked start stream and it started. Like properly started, which is very unusual. Shout me, please. I am only with 120 subs. I'd love to shout you, but like, what's the point in shouting? I'll shout out loads of people. Happy second anniversary is somebody's channel name. You can click over there and have a subscribe there if you like. I don't know the channel. It could be anything. Doesn't live in Dublin, Bob lives in the sticks. I do, in the sticks, way out in the country. No, but I live in Portlaoise, which is not really the sticks. It's the biggest town in Laois. So as towns go, it's the closest thing you're going to get to a city. There's a hospital in it. There's a prison in it. I mean, a maximum security prison, proper one, where the IRA hang out. Like, were imprisoned over the years. The army are the prison officers, as well as being ordinary prison officers there. We don't just have a hospital. We have the local, what do you call them? So the county council, you know, they are here in the town as well for the whole county. Big council office in the middle of the town. We have pretty much everything after that as well. All the usual shops you find in every other town. That's why people don't go to the big town anymore, or up to the smoke, because all the big shops are in our towns anyway. So what's the point? You know. Duster driving experience is all relevant to what you are currently driving. It would be a huge step in moving from an old banger. Yeah, but you're only moving from a fairly old banger. I thought about a car maybe 10 or 12 years old. If you're moving from that into the Duster, you'll find a good step up, right? If you're moving from anything even a little bit more modern, even something like 6-7 years old, you're going to find a little bit, you're looking for all kinds of things. I'm just going to go back here now, and we're going to put that user in timeout because he's spamming the channel. Look at that. See, we're missing what do you call him, Andy, today already. So Bob, do you have someone fly the drones on your test drive, or do you do it yourself while driving? I have someone flying the drones while there. Two things happen. One is when the car is stationary, I'm usually flying it. So we use a spotter while driving. So what we do is I have another person drop back on the road that we're driving along, and the spotter makes sure when traffic is coming, of course, we pull over to one side of the road. The drone does as well. When there's no traffic coming, we fly along with the drone. It's always someone else flying the drone while I'm driving the cars, wherever it is entirely possible. Once in a while we do the off-road sections because it's just not possible to figure out which way I'm going to go off-road. So once in a while we let the drone do its thing. So it's a Mavic drone, which is DJI system, which means it can lock on to an object, a person, a car, a bike, whatever it is, and it can track that through the shot. So on the off-road sections, often the drone is just flying itself because it just looks nice. It looks epic as well. But the majority of the time it is a spotter that we use on the road to make sure the road is closed, to make sure there's no one on the road we're going to be disturbing, no traffic coming, no walkers, no animals or sheep or whatever it is. Although they're generally not bothered by whatever we see. Where else were we? Oh yeah, back to the Dacia Duster for a sec. Duster is on test. I had it for the whole week. Couldn't really find a lot wrong with it. Like I say, if you're coming out of a car that's 10 years old, you're going to love the Duster thing. It does lack a little personality maybe, but there's plenty of space in it. The LG touchscreen that's in the centre is actually okay. It's alright. It's not going to break any massive rules, but you know, the price of the car, it's pretty good. Cross says some great stories about breakouts from Portlaoise, like the helicopter from the yard. That's true. Stolen armoured vehicles both times, and why they had to add the tank traps. Correct. It is a maximum security prison. You don't ever want to end up in Portlaoise, to be honest with you. I've never been inside. I don't know anything about it, other than it's there. It looks like a castle on one side of the road. It's on the main street as you're coming in. But I know that they did catch a drone trying to drop things over the wall at one point as well. So it does. Drones are completely banned from flying inside Portlaoise area. If you ever want to use an app on your phone to check things, worth a try. If you're into drones, it's worth a try. Download a little app called Air Map, which is this thing. Air Map shows you the fly and the no-fly zones of every country in the world, and it's very up to date. It's always worth a shot. There is a second one. I use two at times because Ireland's not great with the old coverage stuff, but Air Map has been pretty good up to now, and it does actually show where I am as a. It shows a prison. Hang on, just see if I can get over it. So what it's doing is showing you a prison there. So prison, can you see? I can't see that live now, but you can see maybe the prison on top of it. So it's a no-fly zone, a red fly zone in my area. There's another one called Hover, which I also use as well for checking the status. Just see if that boots up there. Checking the state as well. That's just a yellow one. That shows you wind directions and maps and things as well. But hover's also worth a shot. They're all kind of worth a go. Definitely safety first. Don't be taking off in places you're not sure of. If you have a drone of your own, no matter the brand, whether it's DJI or otherwise, definitely get one of those apps. Check them out. If it's a DJI one, it does warn you that you're taking off in an area you shouldn't be. But if it's any other drone, you may not get any of those warnings. So download Hover, download AirMap. I find AirMap the better of the two. And make sure you check everything out first, because you're ruining it for everybody else. Every time not you guys, but every time drone guys in Ireland show a photograph of Dublin city centre from a drone, they're breaking the law. Well, not the law, they're breaking the rules. Which gives ammunition towards the guys who want to make laws to make sure we can't take off. The guys who want to charge you money for flying and licenses and so on. So just be aware you're ruining it for everybody else. Pierce O'Donnell, who says, "Hi Bob, love your show plus videos. Looking at a Skoda Superb Sportline. I know you like them. Do you know if the 2019 model will get at the new cockpit?" Everything is heading towards that new kind of glassy touchscreen. The one thing I keep going on about Skoda is that this radio is a touch service now, so you have to touch a plus and a minus button just to turn the thing up and down. There's a little bit too much touchscreen. I find the Volkswagen one has a knob for volume control. Now look, there's steering wheel mounted controls as well, it's not a big deal, but the interior will be going over in the Skoda Superb, will be going over to that new Skoda interior that you've seen in the Karoq and in the other one, the bigger one. That the name escapes me at the moment, but the other Skoda. So they're all going that direction. New Octavia June soon, and then the new version of the Rapid is coming out. There's lots of new stuff coming from Skoda in 2019, but Superb will still be leading the way in size for a saloon car or a hatchback estate type car. So it'll definitely be changing over those. So just bear in mind, I would go, if I was looking at a Skoda Superb right now, I'd either get a really good deal for the 2019 model, or I'd wait till June 2019 and get the 192 models, which will probably be the newer one again. So, just bear in mind. John Fitzgerald says he's 7 minutes late. What have I missed? Not a whole lot, John. We've just been settling into the rhythm of things. You can actually rewind this stream if you want to, but you won't be watching this live. So God knows what could happen. You catch up on something and comment on something from 10 minutes ago. But you know the way I am with the questions that come in so fast, it's very hard to keep up with them anyway. So, work away. The Duster they gave you was probably Tosspec and Tosspec. Yes, it was Tosspec. It is Tosspec. It's the Prestige model they gave us. They've 3 of them on the fleet. Tomorrow starts the judging for Irish Car of the Year 2019. So, the Duster's in that. And, of course, they want to make a good impression. The plastics are still sharp in the cabin. The seats are okay. You can still find the cheap points very quickly of a Duster. It doesn't take very long when you do enough cars. But if you're getting out of a Nissan Almera from 2007 or 6 or 5 or 2000 or something and get into a Duster, it's going to be deadly looking. I designed a prisoner phone system in Portlaoise. Did you? Well, they're not allowed mobile phones. Congratulations. That sounds like an interesting one. Top price, yes, top price wanted. Well, not. There's more spec you can have. There's more stuff you can add to the Duster than I had on mine. But yeah, the one I have is a 2-wheel drive, so not 4-wheel drive, and has got a spare wheel underneath, or a space saver underneath. Unfortunately, that thing underneath, it's underneath the outside. I don't like that. I prefer that to be in the car. That just end up getting stolen. When will you be driving a Skoda Scala, Bob? Whenever it comes out, I suppose. I don't know when the launch of that is or when the preview of that will be. It'll be on the way. I would suggest somewhere mid-2019 for the Scala, but they might be doing something. Well, they might try and do something else with some electric stuff between now and then and some hybrid things. There is a launch somewhere in December, I think, that Skoda are doing. I'm not too sure what it's going to be yet. Skoda tend to play the launches close to their chest. They'll be doing a lot of hybrid, a lot of electric soon. That's tea and it's lovely. What's a Skoda Scala? Kind of a sporty Skoda Rapid or Skoda Octavia, something around that size. I think the 2019 Superb gets digital cockpit display. I know somebody who was able to order one for it in 2019. Yep, if you have to order from the factory, you'll get the latest version of it, rather than the one that you get from a dealership here in Ireland, which is the one they'll have in stock. Joe Lyons, we have a neighbour who flies over our house. To annoy us, lasted until January sales when someone bought a Black Widow. Okay, so yeah, Black Widow's like a slingshot thing. We had them when I was a kid. You can fly over houses within reason. Flying over crowds of people is not advised. Flying, people fly these things at concerts and stuff, and that's where things really go badly wrong. My drone can do nearly 50 kilometers an hour in a straight line when it's up to full speed. That's just a single Mavic. It weighs 750 grams, but 750 grams hitting you at 50 kilometers an hour is going to hurt, possibly kill you. So I'm not saying you need to do a course in safety. You just need to use your head. Is it safe where you are? Will it get blown around the sky? Will it get blown straight down into someone's face? Are you just annoying people? I mean, the noise of those drones going on. When you're just annoying someone, you're just being annoying. You're just being an idiot. Also, is there any other drones in the area? That's another one you got to remember as well. When two drones fly around the place, it can be really aggravating when you got 4 or 5 people up in the sky all at once. So, use your head. They're going to get banned and you're going to get stuck with it. That's what will happen. There'll be a tragic accident someday and someone's going to get banned from flying it, and then all of a sudden it'll be all over for everybody. You'll have to take a €1,500 course and license and something else, insurance and tax, and they'll just drive it out of existence because there is a cabal of individuals who want to make money from drones, from importing them, from selling them, which is why Casey Neistat couldn't buy a drone in Dublin, for instance. So there's all kinds of reasons why you need to watch yourself for drones. Well, Bob, any date for the test of a Skoda Kodiaq VRS and the Superb 19 gets all new gas? I don't have a date for the Kodiaq VRS, but I do have a Kodiaq in late December, and I have a Karoq as well in late December. So those two will be the latest versions of them. Maybe one of them might be a different one than I'm expecting. I see Car Wow nominated the Audi A6 as the overall car of the year. Is it that good? Does it take euros in add-ons to achieve that accolade? Yes, it does. No, well, if you want a full glass cockpit, Audi actually put it in pretty much as standard. It's Mercedes that you have to pay for the upgrades in to get the glassy cockpit thing. Audi actually put in a fairly decent touchscreen. The A6 is there tomorrow. There's 3 of them there tomorrow for judging. It's literally just come on the market in Ireland. It was debatable whether it was going to be included this year, but it is on sale. It is in dealership, so it is part of the 2019 model. We'll test it out fully. It looks really good. I mean, equipment wise, kit wise, what you get as standard in it actually looks okay. I'm not too worried about that. I think Audi's doing a fairly good job in that respect. It's just bums on seats really that needs to be done. There's going to be 3 A6s there tomorrow, so hopefully we'll get a good chance to drive them all tomorrow. You want more than maybe 15 or 20 minutes in a car to get a good feel for it. So we'll give it a shot though, see how it turns out. Actual results from Irish Car of the Year are in November the 8th is the event night, which I'll be attending, black tie event up in Dublin. I am the chairman of the group, so I have no choice but attend that one, so I need to be there to do that one. That's the APMP side of it. Then there's the NWA side of it. They're also sending their representatives, so there's a board between the 4 of us that make up the actual Irish Car of the Year committee, of which I remember that as well. So this year, if all goes to plan, this will be my last year as on the board of either one of them. I'll just get on and start doing some work now for the next 12 months. But I think I'm leaving it in the right place. We're just about there. Once the refresh days are over, which is the next 2 days, it should settle down a little bit into more of a rhythm of things. And then we get into the actual event night where we're dressed up in a little monkey suit. So if you're not following me already on Instagram, you should, because tomorrow I'm going to Instagram the whole day. And you get to see what it's like to actually make a day of where I have to bring like 50 cars, vans, everything into the one place at the one time and organise them all to be there at the right time and make sure everyone's got keys and no one's gone home with keys and that sort of stuff. So a lot to do. Eric Rochford says, could be very late 2019 before superb facelifts is on the market. With the constant changes Skoda make to spec and tech throughout the model cycle, facelifts are not dramatic anymore. No, that's the problem, I suppose. Facelifts now include interior tech, and sometimes it's just different engines and stuff. So sometimes they don't actually change much on the exterior. It just looks the same, but it's totally different inside. Other times, at the behest of Volkswagen Group is the problem for Skoda. They can't really make their own decisions. All the decisions have to come from Volkswagen HQ. That's not necessarily a bad thing. That's what makes them so successful, but it does make it very difficult for them to do business. Derek Meads, hi Bob. VW Arteon or Skoda Superb Sportline. Arteon is the prettier car by a considerable amount. The Skoda Superb is the bigger car by a considerable amount, particularly. Well, I wouldn't say boot space is going to be much bigger, but even just door access. The Superb is a proper sort of, a saloon, limousine type rear legroom space car, whereas the Arteon's more of a driver's car. It's a coupe. Think Passat CC, the original Passat CC. That's what it replaced, and the Skoda Superb being more like a Passat, an ordinary like Passat. So not quite comparable, but near enough. If I was picking one or the other, I'd probably pick a Superb Sportline. It would suit my family better. But, Arteon has its place as a lovely car. Just put this in my hand a second ago. It's really nice. It's a little Volkswagen camper van or something like that. But it's a USB key. That's actually a USB thing. And those two little headlights actually light up when you plug it in. It's cute. I like it. I use it quite regularly. It's 8 gigabytes or something. So I use that quite regularly to move things around. Matthew Todd. Hi, Bob. So excited to be on the Sunday service. Good man. Glad to have you here, Matthew. Live, normally catch up on the podcast. Any thoughts on the petrol Kia Soul? It's driving a carbo box or not. The old Kia Soul was crap in fairness to it. It was. The Americans loved it. I don't know why they loved it so much. It drove very flat, looked good, but it drove very flat, and the gearbox is a little bit, and it drove, when you sat inside it felt like you were driving a small van. Never really worked in my head, but I liked the look, and their advertising campaign was very good for it. The new Soul, I think they're going to bring out eventually and call it a Soul, will be based more like the Stonic, so you're going to get that same sort of feel to that. Which is nothing wrong with the Stonic, good car to drive, nice show to drive. I did a little video of that driving around Mondello with a runner beside me, but interesting car to see. Not a carbo box. Kia is doing good work with their cars lately. The Kia Ceed shines a light now where they're going to go with it, and the Ceed is a really good car to drive. I think that would be one of the 4 runners for Irish Car of the Year this year, overall winner, I reckon. They've really stepped up that game. The thing is, the Ford Focus is in there with it, so that changes matters somewhat. But at the same time, I would still buy a Kia Ceed over a Ford Focus at the moment. I would anyway, that's for sure. Footy Ferrari, here he is. Hasn't seen this guy in ages. Anyway, hi Bob, haven't tuned in live in weeks. My first Sunday off in weeks. Loving the channel, all the best. Cheers, thanks very much. Very good to have you here. It's always good to have returning people. There's a good few people watching now, so if you click the like button, could you do that? The little like thumbs up yoki. It doesn't tell your friends and family any sort of secrets or anything like that. What it does is it tells YouTube that this is happening, people are liking it, and YouTube share that love out to more people to make sure that they watch it. So clicking the like button is very important, and I know I shouldn't be hawking for clicking the like button, but it has to be done, because if you don't ask, you don't get. And that's the same in real life as well, by the way. If you don't ask, you don't get. There is potential of an electric Dacia at some point around 2020. The Renault Kwid, the Renault Kwid, that's going to go down well, KWID, as it's called in India, is getting an electric version. That's basically the Sandero. Well, it's perfect for it, because if you look at the Renault Zoe, which is actually a pretty good electric car, basic but good, you could very easily just take the undercarriage of that yoke and slap it straight into a Sandero. Can't be that hard, surely. The new car Kia Soul is going electric only. We see when that comes out. There's always a lot of that happens at the beginning, where someone goes, oh, it's definitely going to be electric, we're not going to do anything else. And then when it comes out, to go, oh yeah, we forgot about all them people who buy things that are diesels. I can't even pronounce his name. Shakura read some reviews about the Citroen C5 Aircross, and it's probably the first SUV that is comfortable even with bigger rims. Citroen aren't that great for comfort anymore, lads. I would start knocking that one on the head. Citroen used to be comfortable years ago. Now Citroen are just flat. It's not. They do this idea that disconnected from the road means that it's quiet and it feels comfortable, but actually it's just disconnected from the road. That's the problem. You don't actually feel anything, and that's a big issue with Citroen, particularly at the moment. Peugeot seem to have conquered it. French cars tend to be more comfortable than German cars. German cars tend to be more solid on the road. But if I was driving from here to, Connemara or Kerry or somewhere with nice driving roads, the last thing I want to be is a Citroen, because it's going to be just real wishy-washy. Very comfortable on a motorway, but that's about it really. It's just totally disconnected from the drive. Very little in Citroen is connected to drive, so I don't know whether the C5 Aircross is going to be anything to write home about, to be honest with you. Looking forward to test driving it with those hydraulic cushions and the temper style fillings in seats. It's not the nicest looking, but I'm all about comfort. If you're into comfort, comfort is it. There's tons of stuff on the market that is really comfortable at the moment that will give you an enthusiastic drive. Citroen don't have any of them at the moment. They're flip-flopping between what they're trying to do and how they're trying to get there. Citroen Ireland isn't even owned by Citroen Ireland anymore. It's owned by the UK company as far as I know now at this stage. So it's a difficult place for Citroen to be. It's a difficult place to do business at the moment. I think 2019 is going to be a giant mess up in this country. I mean, a massive one. There's going to be fallers at the post for sure. I don't know where Citroen are going to live in that. Their communication is not that great. The PR stuff is not the best in the world, but they're all right. You know, they do okay. But their car range, they really need to look at having something in there for people who aren't architects and designers. You know. What car would you recommend for a starter driver? That comes up every week. The cheapest, most basic thing you can possibly find. You're going to crash it. You're going to bump it off things, and it's going to be difficult to get into parking space. You're going to have a lot to learn. So whatever it is that has the cheapest insurance and the cheapest tax, don't worry about those stars and, you know, crash points and yeah, this car only has 2-star rating. Yeah, who cares? It makes no difference. You're probably not going to have one of those major crashes that's going to worry you about stars. You're much more likely to rear end something. So once it has ABS and a good set of tyres, and you're insured and you're taxed, and you can sit comfortably in it out of the rain and wind, and the heater works, that's pretty much all you need, in fairness to it. So the cheapest car you can find, buy something ultra reliable. Nissan Micra, timing chain in that car, 5-speed box, and maybe 6-speed box. You get something a little bit more current. Don't spend your big money on the car. Spend your money on making sure you're comfortable and your lessons are good and you're learning from someone who actually wants to teach you and get you to pass. That's the most important part. You have the most Russian name I've ever seen in my life. I can't even begin to pronounce that. It's even got some funny letters in it that don't make any sense. So I'm sorry I can't say your name, but you know what I mean. For the starter car, buy something dirt cheap. Bob, any ideas on a price for the Hyundai Kona EV or the Kia Niro EV? I see you can now order from the Kona. I received an email on Friday from Hyundai. The price is all over the place at the moment. I went to the Hyundai website, Irish one, saw the price in Ireland, went over to the UK one for the same car, and the price was $4,000 cheaper. So I don't know what it is that's driving the prices here in Ireland at the moment. There's more grants in the UK for getting an electric car, so that kind of comes into it. But like $4,000, $4 or $5,000 is just a crazy saving to make. So prices at the moment are up in a heap as to what it's going to cost. Expected, it can't be that much more expensive than the hybrid one, right? Than a hybrid version of the car. It just can't. The PHEV can't be that much more attractive to buy than the electric one. So there's an awful lot of tech going into electric cars at the moment. They're very expensive, electric cars, and there's a lot of grants off them and a lot of stuff that's coming down the way. So I would wait. I don't know, I'm not a big proponent of people waiting for electric cars. I would buy something used between now and next October, when the next budget comes out, which will give us a better indication of what the government are going to do with electric cars. Because right now they're doing nothing. They're not both sides of the fence. They don't want to be on the fence or around the fence. They just want to be both sides of it. They're not really making up their mind what to do with electric cars. They're not giving people enough indications to get into them. PHEV, where is that at the moment? A thinking man at the moment now buy a Generation 1 Nissan Leaf, or you know what's just come off the contract as well, which is the Renault EVs. You know, remember the Fluence ZE it was called? They've just come off those contracts, so they're out in the open and available for import. Sorry to be pushing imports on you, but I think you should just buy Generation 1 electric car. The choices coming on the road for electric cars is amazing. I'm drinking tea. Sorry for if you're listening on a podcast. The podcast, by the way, is going incredibly well. Thank you very much. I'm ranked. We are, this beautiful little community, we are ranked number 13 in the automotive section. couple of other Irish guys in there as well. Nobby on cars. I met Mark the other day. He's a DJ. A lovely guy. We hung out doing a Continental Tires thing in Mondello. I'm in his video actually. He's got a video channel. And the other one was the Engine Room podcast, which is Dave Humphreys and Stephen Cooper and Dave from Today FM. So they do one as well, which is the other part of that. Really nice. Who just sent me money? Someone just sent me money. Thank you very much. Michael Burke, you're very good, Michael Burke. Thank you very, very much. It's just donated by PayPal. You're so kind. You can do it by Super Chat as well if you wish, which is just a little $ at the bottom there. Or by PayPal, bobflav@thenextgear.com. There is a link down below if you want to click that. If you go over to paypal.com, put in that you want to donate money, and you put in my email address, which is bobflav@thenextgear.com, you will see my account will appear. You can donate that way. But so yeah, we're number 13 on that chart, which is really good. So the podcast's going incredibly well, and this live stream is going well enough to get its own channel now, which I quite like as well. I don't have a channel manager, and so I'm just making this up as I go along. So I have created the other account. It's called the Sunday Service. You will see it. I'll make it visible in a while. We've done some channel art this morning, put that on, and I'll put a link on our Facebook page, which if you click the link down below will take you to our Facebook community page, which you can join our lovely little community. It's totally free, where we just talk about cars and crap and stuff and things that are happening around the world in cars, and it's pretty cool. Afternoon, Bob, says Simon Edwards. Damn you, YouTube has no notifications again, but here now. You see, that's what always happens. This is why I'm saying the more times you click like is the thing during the live stream, people go, it goes out across YouTube, and YouTube start paying more attention. 63 people watching now. It's really good. So click the like button. That's really good numbers. Very happy with that. Generally around 1,000 views happens on the Sunday Service, which is great for a 2-hour show. It's near impossible to get. And then of course the live stream goes and gets converted into a podcast and goes up on iTunes and on Podbean, which is where it's actually hosted. You can see it there on its own channel page. Where were we? Wow, the comments are flowing. Mind you, don't get too way behind. This is what happens, unfortunately. The comments are going, and I can't keep up with all the things. But we get there. Look, we have 2 hours. It's fine. We're only 30 minutes in. We have another hour and a half of this lovely chit chat before anything else happens. And of course, the motoring massive that have landed now in earnest, which is pretty good. Don't forget that Facebook page. It's always good. And look, it costs nothing. I'm not trying to get you all to go into Facebook. There's 300 and something viewers or 300 and something members of that channel. It's a great little channel. People are posting stuff there the whole time. If I flick in for just a second, one of the posts from this morning was an absolutely brilliant find by Andrew McAfee of a 560 brake horsepower 2-litre turbo all-wheel drive Skoda Superb for sale. It's on a YouTube video. It's very good. Declan, Kona is 35,995. Nero pricing is not announced, but based on their pricing in the other markets, 2 to 3k more. Only surprise with the Nero is that our range is higher than the Kona, despite being a larger car. There you are. That's weird, huh? There you are. Now you see, all the information comes in eventually from somebody, from somewhere. Someone always knows all the stuff, man. You'd want to get your name down quick for either supply is an issue. Supply is always an issue because at the moment they're running out of batteries. There's not enough batteries, lads. There's not enough batteries. Because Tesla haven't started making batteries, and Teslas are generally full of shit. So they're not making enough batteries. And there's the problem. I live in a Toyota Hiace 4x4 import. You live in one. In Ireland or where? 4x4 would have no floor space. Like the old 4x4 Hiace, they're brilliant. They're the elevated ones. The problem was that they had to run a drive shaft all the way down the centre of the car, so they actually raised the inside. So it's a slightly smaller van than the one that isn't 4x4. But Brian Cullen's asked us to pick Frozen. I don't think so. People are still asking questions, I think. Yeah, they are. We're okay. RS184 Great White. That's a great username. It's very hard to pronounce though. Factory workers in VW are going to their unions. They want to bring the production of the Superb to Germany. Any opinion? Don't care where it's made, as long as it's made well. That won't suit the old Czech Republic, who've been making the Superb and Skodas for a very long time. It's hard to say why they would want to bother with that. I mean, Germany already make enough cars without having to make more of the other ones. You live in a high AC, there you go. Clicked like there, Rob. Thanks, Rob Bruton. Good man. Not a light ace. No, a high ace. Hi Bob, what's the situation with Ford and electric cars plans when Ford Fiesta be electric? You know, that is the best question, and I always ask that at a Ford press conference, and no one has a real proper answer for me. Ford are dabbling at the moment with electric and hybrid, right? So there's a Mondeo hybrid on the press fleet, but it's a Mondeo with a coffin in the boot. That's the best way to. It's just a box. They've just carpeted over a box of batteries in the boot, and so you've lost all the boot space that was in a Mondeo, and things can get trapped behind it and on top of it and things. It's a mess. It doesn't work. I think Ford just ignored the electric evolution, and then everybody went, God, we know electric cars, what do we do? And now they're just going to throw money at it. I'd like to see a Fiesta, a Ka, imagine a Ford Focus electric, like hybrid. Surely that's an option, an easy option to go. Every press conference I've been to, internationally and nationally, they have mentioned electric, but I've failed to see any results from them yet. So whenever they get around to it, plenty of electric options in every other brand at the moment. I mean, look at what Volkswagen are doing with the e-Golf. That's a great car. I have that in a couple of weeks' time. It's a really, really good car. A little bit on the pricey side, but supply has started properly with them now, so you're going to see more of them on the road in a very near future. There's John Carney. Greetings, Bob, and all the Sunday Service community. Really enjoying the Facebook group. Great idea. Keep up the good work. See, Facebook group. It's always a place to go and hang out. John teaches driving, sometimes in an ordinary private sense, but also in the commercial sense. He does a lot of commercial driving as well. Brian Cullen, I do. Can you see it on my channel? Mission Nomadic. What's Mission Nomadic? What are you doing? Hawking here. And I'm not joking. Mike Burke. You're very welcome, Bob. It's money well spent every week. Sure, if it was a mass, I'd have thrown it in the basket and learned feck all. There you are, you see. My first time in mass was, not my first time recently in mass was 2 weeks ago. My mother's anniversary, my father's anniversary as well, both anniversary mass them up at once. Some members of my family would be religious, so of course they get a mass said every year. Now I'm not a religious person. I don't go along to mass. I'm not really in that kind of thing. But I actually found it quite peaceful to sit there in mass and listen to the priest do his thing. It happens to be the priest was actually Polish. A very nice man as well. It seemed very nice, ordinary. But I sat there listening to mass and looking around and realizing that the majority of people who were there were very senior citizens. I mean, very senior, and a few people with them who weren't. But generally speaking, most people are very old now at this stage going to mass. So it was unusual. But I noticed that how many times that collection box went around, and people put in a £5, put in £3, put in £4, and for what? Like, I don't really understand what they're doing. The Catholic Church is one of the richest churches on earth. There isn't, not even church. The Vatican is one of the richest cities in the world, bar none. So I don't know why you'd give your pennies over to the Catholic Church, but that's of course your decision. It's your money. You can do whatever you want with it. But it'd be nice you throw some money into my collection basket as well, because of course I do my Sunday service here every Sunday too. Tony Ford had an electric Focus, which was really poor conversion. Boot couldn't fit a briefcase. They sold single digits in the UK. Their first real EV would be a sport SUV with Mustang DNA. Mustang electric. That'll be a laugh a minute. I have to check out. There's a good group that I'm doing some work with now at the moment, a crowd called Greenfeet. Greenfeet.ie is the name of the website. They look after lawns. So what they do is you have a lawn and they make it green. They get rid of all the weeds and they get rid of all the moss and all that. It's a really cool treatment thing, really interesting. But the guy who runs it, Anthony, is a car head, a real proper car head. He has a Mark II Mustang, which is going to give me a lend out. We're going to have a drive. We're going to make a video just for the crack, which would be interesting. Would love to see some of this SUVs and Jeeps tested towing a load sometimes to see how they perform. There's a lot of aids now like ESP and trailer stabilization that aren't talked about on reviews. It's true, John, generally speaking, I'd love to do that as well, but generally speaking, most of the car companies don't put a tow hitch on the car, number one. Number two, I don't have a trailer. I don't actually own a trailer to put a trailer on the car, and the car companies don't have a trailer either. Some of the days and events and things that they do, they show you the trailer assisted things, which is very cool. I've used that. The launch of the Passat, the international launch of Passat, they had a massive caravan thing that you're able to reverse into a space. It was really cool, but the car did it for you. So the car did the trailer assist reversing for you, which is my downfall. Reversing a trailer is a pain in the hole, is the best way of describing that. It's a terrible thing to do. I don't know how people do it with such eloquence and ease. I just find it like it just goes that way, then it goes that way. I hate trailers. It's probably just lack of experience though. Snazbot, do you think by the time diesel and petrol bans come into place that most people will be driving electric vehicles anyway? No, I think they'll relent on the petrol and diesel bans. I think the UK government are an absolute catastrophe at the moment in what they're trying to do to ban electric or ban petrol and diesel cars. I think it's an absolute mess. There is nothing to replace it. You can look all you want at electric cars and go, they're brilliant, they're brilliant, they're brilliant, but they cannot replace the long-range diesel torque you get right now. A diesel, just a standard family hatchback towing a 3-ton caravan is just not possible in electric cars. And it's not even caravans, you're talking about normal trailers. You're talking about 4x4, you're talking about going to remote areas of North Scotland, Wales, the back end of nowhere stuff. There's all kinds of reasons why you cannot get rid of diesels and petrols. And another big one would be, of course, commercial vehicles. Commercial vehicles are plain and simple designed to make money. They're not to be loved, they're not to be looked after, they're just to make money. If you want to make money right now, you have to have a diesel, because that thing needs to be able to go 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to work whenever the owner of that company wants to be there. And it's just not going to be replaced anytime soon by an electric vehicle that can do the similar sort of way. The more batteries you put in a car, the heavier it becomes and the harder it is to get going. There is a step down process that we have to go through to get to the other end of this, to make sure that we get to the point where we can change over to electric and be ready to do it. It'd be a nice thing to do, but I just can't see it. I think it's a catastrophe at the moment of what the UK government's doing, and that's not even talking about Brexit. Focus EV was one of the worst EVs I've ever driven. Handling was ruined because the weight distribution was off, no rapid charging, crap range despite the larger than average battery. That's a pretty good sum up of the Ford Mondeo electric as well, or hybrid one. I'm getting it for a proper test soon, but my initial result was it's just a Mondeo with a battery in the boot. Didn't really make a whole lot of difference. Jeep making hybrid Renegade soon. That'd be good. I like the Renegade. It's pretty good. It's not a bad little car, that. I always liked what Jeep do. I just had a Jeep, what's the other Jeep called? The one in betweeny. I just dropped back one of them the other day, which is actually pretty good. Jeep always do something interesting, in fairness to them. They bring in American stuff and they put sort of an Italian feel to it with a bit of Fiatness in it, and then they just release it. Great White says, Bob, those Golfs are overpriced. GTT starts 41 grand without metallic or any extra. Yeah, I made a video on that. I put one against the other. The GTE versus the Golf e-Golf. I know they're priced weirdly, but you have to kind of look at them face on or what's in them. There's a lot of stuff, and they really do actually do the job. There's no cheats going on. The range they say they're going to get, they actually get. It's a weird sort of car. You look at the price, then you go, there's something wrong with this. It's just a Golf. It's not just a Golf, though. There's more to it than that. Bob, a friend who owns an Octavia will be changing his car in January 2020. Should he buy a hybrid or full electric then? By 2020, so you're talking another 12 months, 13, 14, 15, 16 months, somewhere around there before he actually really gets delivery of the car. You're definitely going to be into electric territory at that point. There's massive development happening right now across the range of every brand of car for electric, hybrid, PHEV. It's going along at a rate of knots. Now, the problem is currently battery supply. Battery supply is the biggest issue. You have to rape an area of ground to try and pull enough lithium ion out of it to make a battery. It's not unlimited. We are transferring over into this lithium ion age, but the problem is everything is kind of battery. It's not just, you got laptops, you got phones, you got ordinary like AA, AAA batteries going lithium. Everything's going that direction. So we have this problem with supply, and it's not changing at the moment. And unless we figure out a way of changing slower over to it, or figuring out a better way of recycling batteries and making it work, we're going to have problems in the very near future when we just haven't got enough batteries. And that's really what it's coming down to. And Tesla know this, and Peugeot know this, and Renault know this, because they want to be the king of recycling batteries. Renault, that's what they announced that a few years back. So it's not just them. But definitely will be electric cars. By 2020, Skoda will have a fair range of electric and hybrid cars, and diesel will be very much a back burner for them, I'd say. Jeep Compass, what you meant, Jeep in the middle. That's correct, Jeep Compass. God, see, everybody knows exactly what I'm thinking. You're so in tune with me that at this stage people know exactly what I'm actually thinking. I love that. That's the community spirit we have here, of course. You could support the channel and the way it stays free, which is most important. It stays free. It means I get to say whatever I want to say about cars, and no matter how hard I can be on cars, it doesn't matter because nobody advertises here. I mean, car companies do not pay to have their cars here. But you can support financially if you wish. PayPal link down below, or just go to paypal.com. bobflav@thenextgear.com is my email address if you ever want to email me or whatever. You can also do it by super chat right here on the channel, or Patreon, which is a very slow burner here in Ireland. Patreon is very, very, very slow, but it's getting there. It's okay. It's all money. It's fine. It supports the channel. It keeps it free. It allows me to be able to say whatever I want to say, so I can speak on your behalf whenever I want. Not limited to Skoda. I have a friend who bought a Nissan Leaf a year and a half later, about a farm 100 miles away. Whoops. A friend who bought a Nissan Leaf a year and a half later, bought a farm 100 miles away. Oh, right. Oh, okay. So he bought a farm 100 miles. Yeah, well, a Nissan Leaf isn't going to do 100 miles that handy. That's what I'm saying. You nearly want to step up to it. If I was buying another car right now, I would buy like a Generation 1, borderline 2 Nissan Leaf as a second car outside the house, and then I'm in the electric range. Whatever happens, I've got a petrol, got electric, I can do both. But at the moment, I just don't see, there's just not enough choice on the market to make an informed decision on which electric car to buy, and there's too many subsidies subsidizing the price behind the electric cars, making them look affordable when actually they're like a 40 grand car. The rest is in grants. And then the secondary part of that is very soon they're going to start charging for on-street parking or charging here in the Republic. They don't currently. It's currently free electricity on the street, but it's not working. And there's no support for the infrastructure, and half the machines don't work, and all kinds of problems. So we'll see, but I just don't see a good future at the moment. Right now, this minute, I don't see a great way into electric cars that's sustainable, that can keep on going. Haven't found a single use case that is fundamentally unachievable by EV. It's not particularly difficult to make a 4x4 EV with a 1500 kilometer range. It's just not financially viable yet, but in 5 years, yes, you're right, Cross, of course. Given more time, things will settle down in price. Right now, it's massive money. It's all a question of money. If you want more money and you want to pay more money, you can go further in an electric car, or you can go longer in an electric car, or you can get faster charge. It's just a question of how much you want to spend on it, how much car companies want to spend on it too. But right now, you can get a reasonable distance for a reasonable amount of money. But if you took off the grants of a Nissan Leaf, 25, 30 grand is going to be a Nissan Leaf. You take off the grants of that, it's a 50 grand car. Like, it's just not, it's not fun. There's 10 grand worth of grants immediately off that. And then, you know, the charging box and stuff on the wall. So it goes up. Rhythm Fish 1. That suggests to me there's a Rhythm Fish 2 or a Rhythm Fish original one that you've forgotten the password for, which is why if you look at Jeremy Clarkson on Instagram, it's Jeremy Clarkson 1. He forgot the password of the first one and couldn't figure out what it was. He just made another account. Anyway, Rhythm Fish 1 says, "Hi Bob, wondering if you know much about the second-hand small off-road 4x4s. Short wheelbase Land Cruisers are a bit pricey, correct, and it would be broken very quickly because they get driven so hard or stolen. There's a bit of a thing going on about Land Cruisers at the moment. What are the offerings like of Suzuki or Mitsubishi like? Mitsubishi would be the one to go for. Out to Suzuki, just don't. They do nice small off-road. Like the Jimny is a great little vehicle, but it's a bit old and a bit industrial inside. Mitsubishi make actually really good off-road cars. Just don't make them here anymore. They're kind of taking a whole lot off the market. The Outlander's still on the way. It is here, but it's still on the way. It still hasn't got enough range yet. And that's not going to be, the Outlander's going to be a PHEV. So that's going to be a bit weird for off-roading, but we'll see. The small off-road 4x4 that you are looking for, if you want something that's really going to be hackable, I mean something that you want to just drive up a cliff, put on a winch yourself over hedges and stuff, you're going to be kind of stuck in that Land Cruiser, maybe Land Rover Defender sort of level, the smaller ones of those. Jimneys, there's a Jimny club that operate here around in Laois that I've seen a couple of times. They do a lot of off-road and stuff. You could get that kind of range of stuff. Mitsubishi, the smaller one, the really small one of that was called, I forget. There was a little small 1 litre petrol one of that thing, which is really weird. Wouldn't do a lot of off-roading in it though, mind you. And I'm including, Cross is still on, but electric cars. I'm including a long-distance international transport, barring medium or long-range aircraft and container ships. We've already at the point where Dublin to Holyhead ferry could be EV today. Technologically we could be, but there's not enough batteries in the world to do that. Just what you're talking about, we couldn't transfer, we just couldn't do that much in lithium ion tomorrow. There's just such a short supply of the whole lot of it, so it's a bit of a problem with that. But yeah, technologically we could make everything electric tomorrow, just couldn't charge most of it. Has anyone ever donated to you using cryptocurrency? Yes, a couple of times, but very few now, I would say. And it's complicated. I can't remember what the name of the thing is that I opened. One of the subscribers here actually helped me open the cryptocurrency account things. You can donate. Look at my older videos and you'll see a list of links for all the cryptocurrencies you can donate by. If you want to, you can. It's no problem. Whatever way it comes is all good. I drove a rental Skoda Octavia in Ireland on twisty roads, and the chassis was probably one of the worst for those kind of roads. Way too soft, springs on the 1.5 litre diesel. I'd never found that, to be honest. Together with DSG was not working well at all. VW cars chassis have been bad for a long time already. Look at the Kilometer 77 YouTube channel. I don't agree. VW chassis are not terrible or bad on Irish roads. Look at their sales here. If they were bad here, they wouldn't sell here. They're tighter than the French model cars, which tend to be much sloppier. Skodas tend to be softer than Volkswagen, and Volkswagen tend to be softer than Audi. That's kind of the way they go. Seat do their own thing. They're of an equivalent to Skoda on the kind of softness front. But I wouldn't agree whether it's KM77 YouTube channel or anyone else. If they think it's too soft, then they're probably not driving enough cars to make that judgment call. Generally, motoring journalists like me or any of them, no matter who it is, will look at the experience of the person who's given the opinion before we listen to their opinion, because experience is absolutely everything in modern journalism. The more cars you drive, the more understanding you have of different chassis systems, different suspension setups, different shock absorber systems, air suspension, not air suspension, old style oil suspension. Then you have various kinds around the edge of that again, with different tire mixes, wide tires, narrow tires. Even the different seats inside a car make a difference to the way the car handles. Rental cars tend to be bog standard stuff, the most basic of basic stuff that's in them, and it doesn't tend to have the same sort of ride quality as you would get in a personal vehicle. But that's neither here nor there. Generally speaking, it's just an experience thing. The more you experience, the more you get the hang of it. Great White. I am looking to change my 14 Octavia VRS Combi to a superb Sportline 194x4. Bob mates say just change, but Bob, I am only one worrying about Brexit. Won't change till after. Mates ordering 191's mad. I'd hang on till Brexit as well. In fairness, even if they get a deferral, there's going to be something. Next year is going to be absolutely nightmarish stuff. I don't know what's going to happen after Brexit. No one really does. But something's going to happen for sure. It's not just going to take place and everyone just ignores like it never happened. So it's definitely going to happen. I would, if I was looking at that Sportline 190, I would probably drop the 4x4 element of it just for fuel economy status. 4x4 doesn't really do a lot for you other than suck up some diesel. So you're not really going to get much better out of it than you were before. Footy Ferrari, I pass electric car charger. I just skipped that. Sorry. I pass the electric car charger every morning at the Lewis Red Cow, and it seems to be out of order every day. How is everyone supposed to rely on the infrastructure? That is absolutely correct. The problem is, right, so here's how the electric infrastructure works. So the ESB kind of built the whole system, right? So they built it, but they built it with grants and subsidies from the government. So the idea was that they would build it and then they would turn it on. We would all start using it for the first couple of years. They would give it away. It wouldn't cost anything to charge. And the ESB would support it. Now, there's come a point now where the ESB is going, well, we're not making any money from doing this. How do we make money from it? The government say you can start charging. The energy regulator says you can't start charging because you don't have any competition. You know, so there can't be regulation with no, you can't be a monopoly on charging it. So what has to be done is the infrastructure needs to be sold to someone so they can license the selling of the electricity. And what ESB is doing, and I know I won't get thanked for this because I know people who work for the ESB, what ESB is doing is running it into the ground. They're allowing each of the units to go offline and not fix them until someone complains about them, and then they can buy it at a knockdown price. And when they buy it, then they can license it out, so Energia or whatever it is, whoever it may be, will come along and license the whole system and start selling electricity to you. So that's what will really happen, and that's definitely on the way. Next 12 months, I'd say that'll happen. Lewis Red Cow has been down for 3 years. I haven't used it. Last time we used the Lewis Red Cow was Electronomus. We did an Electronomus event earlier on this year, very early this year. Was it before summer? Anyway, a weird event. It was a strange event on a carrier. I drove an electric car all the way down an e-Golf, and it got there and it murdered a Tesla. The i3 didn't make it either. There was just all sort of, everybody ended up in the e-Golf getting carried from the Tesla that ran out of electricity hours before. So it was a very strange event. It was a fun event, but it was a strange event. Electromotive, I think, was the manufacturer of those charge points. They're crap. There was a load of them tried to make those charge points. There was at least 6 different brands in a running for a long time. My biggest point, of course, with the Hyundai, I did a Hyundai video where I got an awful slag in it because I was picking the wrong electric current the whole time. Some people got it, some people are just idiots and didn't really get it, but it was meant to be a point of, it's a new language you have to learn, and then there's these different buttons you have to press. Why doesn't the car tell you what button you need to press? Why doesn't it just start supplying electricity immediately, was my point behind it. Because what should happen is, like, if I plug in, this is an Apple Mac that I'm using here in front of me, right? If I plug in a phone into this, the phone just begins to charge immediately. If I plug in anything into this, it just begins to charge immediately, because the thing just supplies electricity. Why doesn't a car supply? Why do I have to choose what power is being supplied? Why doesn't the car know what power it's getting, and why doesn't the communication device tell it what to do? Anyway, that's electric car points. I am 34 and always wanted to buy a sports car. Considering all the options and my budget, I decided to place an order for a GT86 Blue Edition with performance pack for 28 grand. Delivery in December. Deadly. Nothing wrong with that. I guess for the price, no other 4-seater for me. Do you agree? Is there something coming up next few months I would keep my eye for? No, I guarantee to be not out next few months. Everyone's concentrating on electric car, electric performance cars, and what's coming after that. So if you're looking at the GT86 or the Mazda MX-5 or something like that, it's a fairly unique point of the market, and there's very, very little going to happen in the middle of that. Plus, you're going to have great crack in that GT86. It's a lovely car. It's a lovely thing. I don't mind all the slagging people give it about low horsepower, low torque, or whatever it is. It's fine. Cross13 has donated €5 by lovely super chat. You're very kind. Thank you very much. Don't forget, you too can subscribe to the channel here. Make sure you click the subscribe button, click the like button, click the bell notification icon. So if you click the bell, by the way, all that happens is when I go live, you get a little notice on your phone, it pops up, and you can just click it to go straight to the channel. It's pretty handy. You also get an email, which is very unusual. But you can do all of that, and you can support the channel any way you possibly can. All the links are down below. I try to drive all the new cars that come out. Well done. So do I. Stupid hobby of mine. It's actually my job. So yeah, I do it too. Bob, look up to the chase on the Tiguan. Huge complaints worldwide. Look up the... What? Look up the CHASIE on the Tiguan. Huge complaints worldwide. I didn't have any complaints from the Tiguan. I had a Tiguan and a Tiguan Allspace, and both of them are just really good. But then I don't test things long term, so I get a car probably maximum for a week. Sometimes a tiny bit longer, sometimes it's not. In that week, I condense months and months of driving into that 1 week. So I try to accelerate the driving as much as you possibly can. But you never know what's going to happen in 6 to 8 months. Now, if the car's been on the press fleet for 4 or 5 months, then you can, because you can kind of jump into a car and go, it's 4 or 5 months with journalists who are pretty hard on cars most of the time. So, like, no one complained to me about the Tiguan, so I don't know anything about it. Rob Bruton says, will Brexit ever happen? I don't know. Some people really want it. Some people now really don't want it. It's been reported generally on the news over the last few days that 100,000 odd people turned out in London to protest leaving EU. what do you call him? U2 went on stage and put a big European flag behind him. Not that U2 make a blind bit of difference to the world, but if Brexit goes ahead, they've only got two. So there's really only two choices. The bone of contention is the Northern Ireland section. That's a section of Ireland that Britain has owned for a number of years. There used to be a physical border. In my living memory, I remember the physical border going across, separating Northern Ireland from Southern Ireland. Or from the Republic of Ireland. It's not Southern Ireland. I mean, Donegal's in Southern Ireland, but it's actually northwest of Northern Ireland. Like it's higher and it's further north. But so what's the choice? Choice number one is to put a physical hard border between the Republic of Ireland and Northern Ireland, which means moving things and people back and forward across the border is very difficult across a physical border. Plus, the physical border has so many routes in and out of Northern Ireland that you can't really police the whole lot of them. That's choice one. Choice two is to put a imaginary wall down the Irish Channel. So the Irish Sea that separates Ireland from England, they put a sort of a customs border between the two. So it means that we can drive in and out of Northern Ireland as normal, but to go from Northern Ireland or Southern Ireland to England or Scotland or Wales would require you to go through a customs border, proper one where they can pull you over, check all your customs and things. We've already got that, by the way. That's already there, right? And then point three is a mix and match of something similar to those kind of points, which is to bring Northern Ireland back in as part of the Republic of Ireland. Therefore, England has to relinquish its hold over Northern Ireland. Scotland have been very quiet about doing something similar. It's very unlikely that they'll probably will. But the last option then is just defer it forever or just stay in the status quo, which is what it's at right now. Which one they're all going to pick? Don't know. There's an awful lot of talking shop going on about the whole thing. Which one do you want? I'd love to know, to be honest with you. Which one would you prefer? Generally speaking, I'd be in favour of just leaving England the way it is. What was wrong with the way you had it? It was all okay up to that point. I mean, you still have control of your borders, right? I still have to show my bloody passport every time I go to England, so what's the problem? Shifting to high says 4x4 Compass Trailhawk, ordering one. Yes, that's a good car. I like the Compass. It's not bad looking. No, it's become better looking. I've always liked the Grand Cherokee though. I've always thought it was a lovely car. Our suggestion to the regulator was for physical infrastructure to be owned by ESB networks and all the consumer supply companies be required to provide a public EV charging product of some kind. That's what should happen. Now, the only drawback I see in that is what happens in the UK. If I wanted to drive from Scotland to Wales, I'd have to have maybe 4 or 5 little cards that operate each one of the charge points because too many people have a charge point each. Now, I know this is a small thing, but if you extend that out further, if you start looking at Europe and you want to drive across France, you're going to need maybe 10 or 11 of those cards, and it just gets harder and harder and more complicated. What would be wonderful is that I could get one card and I could buy credit for any company using that one card. That would be really cool. So I could spend, so I have like a Leap card, I have €100 on my card. I go up to any charge point and whatever I tap with just takes that money. That would make sense for me. Make it easier on the consumer as well. Sorry, I'm a very consumer oriented person. I have no interest whatsoever in supporting the companies. I think the companies will make money no matter what. If they really have to, they will. There's a totally different conversation happening over there that's nothing to do with me, so I'm staying out of that one. Multiple chargers showing up at Marriott hotels in popular areas in the US. There is a couple of Tesla did a few deals here in Ireland as well for destination chargers, they're called, which is effectively a standard charger that's branded Tesla, and they put it in at certain hotels. And what happens is when you get into a Tesla car and you come to Ireland and you go, I want to go to a hotel, and you press the thing and it shows you all the Tesla chargers, and their thought is that you will make for a destination charger and then end up staying at the hotel. Sounds okay, but you know, it just depends, doesn't it, really, whether you want to have Tesla or not. I'd be much more in favour of having open chargers that everybody uses and all using the same connection. You've got a fast charger, you've got a standard charger, and nothing in between. That's kind of where it should be. And cars should be supplied with both plugs. End of story. No questions. Hi Bob, I hope you're okay. Question: has the name EcoBoost become a liability for Ford? Yeah, it kind of has, really. EcoBoost was something that I seen years ago, and they were talking about a 1 litre petrol into a Ford Mondeo and yada yada yada, going on that sort of stuff. Now it's on fire in the UK a lot, and it seems to be giving trouble worldwide. And I did state at a time in my video, if I remember correctly, the revolutions of the turbo inside an EcoBoost was 250,000 RPM a minute. And that really worried me, because turbos go all the time. Good turbos, old turbos. Okay, BMW has some crap turbos over the year. They lost a lot of turbos. As did Citroen, by the way. Citroen and Peugeot both had turbos that gave an awful lot of problems over the years. But not anymore, mind you. The big problem was that you have this turbo that's spinning at such a rate all the time, it couldn't possibly last for a long period of time. And now I think some of that stuff is coming true. And that was my point in that video. If you look back, I can't remember what the car was. Was it a Fiesta or something? Or a Focus? Anyway, whatever it was. It's a few years back now. But it was a 1 litre EcoBoost, and I was really concerned by just the pressure that would be exerted on a little turbo spinning at that rate for that long. 5, 6, 7 years. Ridiculous. So I knew the turbo would have to go, and now it seems to be fires are the problem, and of course turbo problems, and some issues in Australia with dry climates and things. So there's a lot of stuff going on there in the background. EcoBoost was not a great word anyway to begin with, but it is a minor liability. But Ford had plenty of money. I wouldn't be worried about Ford. Loads of cash. We have 1.8 million Irish citizens, people entitled to be in Northern Ireland. They will remain EU citizens after Brexit. Their rights are guaranteed by the EU, given the UK has failed in the past at that. It's hard to say what way it's going to look. It's all down to laws and regulations and rules and how your perspective feels about what's going to happen next. You've got the London government, and Theresa May seems to be coming under a massive amount of pressure. Every time she says anything, she's always made out to be a joke, a laugh. She stupidly dances at things, trying to show her cool side, and of course it comes across as being some sort of a rag doll or other, because she's not a dancer. Come on, she's like this highly educated woman. She should in essence be elevated to a point, but I find that UK prime ministers tend to get an awful lot of stick. Because it's allowed to happen in the UK, and the BBC enable that, and of course Channel 4 enable that too, where people can just make a laugh of them the whole time, which is cool. That's what should happen. But it just seems that they're careering down this one path, that the one who started them on the path is letting them off, which is David Cameron, has just sidled off into the background and let it. He was the one that called the vote on Brexit in the first place. He just called it. When the vote didn't go his way, he just resigned, walked away, and that was the end of it. So he's left it that way. But the bone of contention is the fact that people can fly into Ireland, Dublin, from the EU, using their passport, land in Dublin, within EU travel, and then they can just drive to Northern Ireland, over to Scotland and down into London without having any checks on their passport. This is the border control they're talking about. This is why when you go over to Calais, you get all these guys hanging around the trucks, trying to climb on board and get inside the cab and things. They get over to the UK. They see it as their homeland. These people were invaded by the UK over all the years, and a lot of their countries were taken from them, and they were told that they were safe under EU or under English rule, and now the English don't want them anymore. So they're not very safe over there anymore. I don't know what way the UK is going to go this year. I'd love to be able to see into the future, but right now it's absolutely screwing up a world economy, but particularly Ireland, England, Scotland, Wales, some parts of Europe that rely heavily on it. Trade is already moving. I already find myself, if I'm browsing for something electronic or I'm looking to see prices and stuff, I go to Amazon.de. I don't go to Amazon.co.uk anymore. I go to .de, and I use the Google Translate thing to translate the Amazon site into English, and so I can read it, and it works fine. I've had stuff delivered from Amazon.de. This that you can see, the edge of this disc up here, which is actually a mic cover, which allows me to be able to talk directly into the mic without getting stuff on it. That mic cover came from Amazon.de, Germany. Took a long time to get here, but that's where it came from. Didn't come from UK. So that's my money going to the EU. But anyway. Hi Bob, are you going to do a review on the Hyundai Kona EV in the future? When there is one here, I certainly will, D Plumber. As soon as I can. Hyundai Ireland they can be a little bit odd sometimes. They sell a lot of cars, but to deal with as a journalist, they can be, when you ring them up and they go, who are you? And you're going, I'm the guy that reviewed your last cars. I know who I am. I reviewed all your other cars. So they can be a little bit weird like that. But When they settle down and get themselves a Kona EV on and maybe do a launch of the thing, then, you know, we'll get a go on it. But yes, I wouldn't hold too much effort on the EV front. Be very careful at what point of this EV race you buy in at, okay? I'm going to raise a relevant point here, that when you buy an EV and it's got a 300 kilometer range, 200 kilometer range, whatever range it's got, another EV comes out in a couple of years' time and that's got 600 kilometer range, that's going to devalue and have a value level on the car you're driving now. Just be careful at what point of EV life that you buy in at, because it can be very expensive to buy back out of it again. Shakura says about EcoBoost engine, and he gives a link to a YouTube video. I don't know whose video it is. Hard to find petrol engines that would last a long time nowadays. Now, I just want to point out as well, in the interest of fairness, that there is a lot of EcoBoost engines out there that have no problems whatsoever. Generally speaking, the internet is the wrong place to find good news, right? So people will, if they have a problem with a device, if I had a problem with my phone, the first thing I would do is go in and Google the problem with my phone, and that would lead me to other people who also have the problem with their phones. It would not lead me to the person who didn't have a problem with the phone, because they don't mention it. So if I owned an EcoBoost Ford Focus or Ford Fiesta outside the door and it wasn't giving any trouble, I wouldn't have made a video about that. I wouldn't have. You don't go, this is my Ford EcoBoost and it's perfect, it's running perfectly like a clock for the last 3 years. Nobody does that. You'll only ever hear the negative end on the internet. So when you go and look at it and you go, my EcoBoost is giving trouble, you'll only find other people giving trouble. So it's very easy to find that out there. So in the interest of fairness, I thought I'd mention that, just that it's very easy to see all the badness in the world on the internet and none of the goodness, because very few people talk about the good stuff. That's the point of ESB networks owning the physical infrastructure, no duplication of hardware, and all the cards work everywhere, separate to the charge point from the electricity provider. See there, that's exactly what we need. Tesla's destination chargers are standard type 2 charge points. There is a dip switch inside that DIP switch. Inside that switches it from Tesla only to open to all. If you get it free, they ship. It's switched to Tesla only. Alright, so there is a switch. You can change over from Tesla over. Yeah, because remember when we were on that Electronomus yoke, we were trying to find a Tesla charger. We were in Cork somewhere, and we went into the system of Tesla, and it showed the little T over this place. We went there, and it was just an ordinary destination charge. It was going to take like 12 hours to charge the bloody car. We were trying to get to the place in the next hour. But anyway, that ran out of electricity at Tesla and ended up sticking on the side of the road. Whereas me and my little e-Golf got there on just 2 charges. So I got one fast charge, another fast charge. It was there. End of story. You can have Eco and you can have Boost. You can't have both. That's kind of right. Yeah, I see what they were trying to get with the EcoBoost effort, that you have this turbocharger in an Eco car. The problem is physics. Physics is always the answer to everything. If you talk to engineers, and I remember I've talked to many engine engineers and suspension engineers and chassis engineers, and the general consensus is weight is everything. The weight of the car is everything to how the car handles, goes, fuel economy, performance, 0 to 60 time. It's all about weight. You can incrementally improve all sorts of parts of the car and get tiny little improvements, like changing the tires out will get you a tiny bit of improvement. But if you considerably lessen the weight of a car, you will instantly get a large result in your fuel economy, in your performance, and in everything else. So the element of looking at a car and thinking that, you know, let's make a 1 litre EcoBoost engine and put it into a big heavy car, something's got to give. You can't do that. It's going to end up being not economical or hard on the engine in the first place, so it's unreliable. That's all that happens, and that's kind of what's happening to the EcoBoost thing. It wasn't a great idea in the first place. It's just become a worse idea over time. That's the big difference. There's my daughter's phone there. She wants that. I just realised. Sitting there beside me, just in case it's going dig on the, you know, mics have been detecting mobile phones since 19 dot. What is making that noise? Something's making a noise beside me. I wonder if my Kindle charging. No, that's my Kindle. I have books on that, which I only read a Kindle. I very rarely read a physical book. Kindles are brilliant. You can download most of the books as well. Where are we? Electric cars won't work down here in rural Ireland. One of the most common motors in my town is a lot of old diesels, 05 and up. No new Celtic Tiger here. People can't afford to change. Unfortunately, there's a 2-speed Celtic Tiger as well. I hate saying Celtic Tiger. It's got terrible bad connotations of the country, but there's a two-speed economy in Ireland. There's the city economy, which is grounding to a halt right now and will come crashing down at some point simply because of housing crisis. You can't get a house, you can't do this, can't do that, can't do something else. And then you have this country environment where people have been putting up with their cars for 12 years, 13 years. They're just not interested in change. You just don't see the point in changing. It's not helping them to change at the moment. So they're not changing. And so this two-speed is happening in Ireland. And the government has presided over this and done very well at keeping that exactly the way it is. You're not going to see that many electric cars down the country because people just aren't converted in that way. And people in the country regularly have to do long drives in the middle of the night. And they just don't want the hassle of having to plug in a car. There is a mind shift that has to happen. I'd have no problem with it whatsoever. I have a charge point right here in my house. I've had multiple electric cars here. I've had zero problems with any one of them. They've all worked. They've all done what they were supposed to do. I'd easy convert over. But that's what it's going to take. You'll have to get a going one for a couple of weeks to figure out what you want. Diesel is more sustainable than electric. No brainer, Bob, says Mike Carney. Until a structure is built, why isn't anyone talking hydrogen? Hydrogen is ever decreasing circles. Hydrogen is really expensive to make, to actually extract. You can make hydrogen on your own at home, by the way. I don't advise this necessarily, but hydrogen is just saline solution basically, and you just catch the gas that's coming off it. There's loads of YouTube videos on how to make your own hydrogen should you want to make your own hydrogen. You need to be able to store it. You don't make much of it either, so it's quite hard to make a lot of the stuff. But hydrogen is a difficult one because even if we could make it in very large quantities, and depending on how you're going to make it happen, right? So you have two ways with hydrogen. One is a hydrogen engine charges a battery that runs a car. So that's one way of doing it, right? So it's a bit like a hybrid in that respect. But the hydrogen engine is just charging the battery. It's not supplying power to the wheels. So that's different from a hybrid. But similar idea. That's one way. The other way is hydrogen directly drives the car. Honda Clarity was called, or something, was the car that Honda was looking at the time. There's a couple of hydrogen stations in the US. It's not picking up because to get hydrogen to the end user, you need petrol stations. And petrol stations don't want to drill a gigantic hole in the ground and put another tank in it. There's already tanks under the ground. They don't want to have to do that. And that's one. Two, hydrogen is just really hard to make and really expensive to store, really expensive to move around. It's just a lot of investments required in that respect, and you don't make much of it. For the amount that needs to be invested to pull back out of it, you don't make much of it. So batteries are where it's at the moment. But look, that doesn't mean we don't have a good future. Look what Mazda's trying to do at the moment with their petrol engines. They're talking about petrol. I'll have a Mazda 6 tomorrow, a petrol one. So that's going to be put to the test because I have that for the whole week and I have to go to Galway and things as well. That reminds me, actually, next Sunday I'll be in Galway at the Mockness Halloween parade. It's a bank holiday weekend, so chances are there won't be a Sunday service next weekend unless I do something from the Mockness parade. Maybe, we'll see. Adding even more ethanol into petrol has also caused problems for these newer engines, especially if they have piezo's. Ethanol tends to be really drying. So a couple of things happen. So for younger viewers, maybe you won't ever remember leaded petrol, right? Leaded and unleaded petrol. The thing about leaded petrol, it's really harmful, right? Literally lead comes out of the back of the car in the gases and will poison you to death. But the thing about leaded petrol was it was quite wet. So if you spill petrol on your hand and you don't light it, don't do this. Just don't do it at all, right? But if you pour petrol on your hand or on the ground outside, it just evaporates. It'll dry off very quickly. It won't take very long for that to happen, in a couple of minutes, especially in warm weather. If you drop a match on it, the match will probably go out. Petrol's not deadly at that sort of thing. Petrol only works when it's on something and the fumes from it can accumulate. Then it goes, and up she goes. The gas from petrol, or the mist, is what makes a petrol engine work. Diesel, on the other hand, diesel is very wet. If you put diesel in your hand, if you ever filled at a diesel pump, you go out and go, smell of diesel off your hand, it's rotten. That's the liquid that's left over the top. That's the oil of the part of diesel. So it's a wetter fuel. Petrol tends to be very dry in an engine, and the more ethanol that they add to the petrol to cut the amount of emissions and to make the fuel go further, the drier that becomes, because ethanol is like bone dry. Ethanol just dries off really quick. You get any of that in your hands, it's gone instantly. So it's a difficult one to figure out where the balance is, but how much you pay for petrol is how much actual petrol's in it. The less you pay for petrol, the more ethanol's in it. Dirty diesel will be another one as well, where diesel's been cut. It's not just diesel anymore. There's a lot more chemicals. There's hardly any diesel in diesel these days, in fairness to it. I bet my money on hydrogen. I don't. I'd take that bet from you. I would. I'm not sure, but we're going to see a decent return on hydrogen for another 10 years yet. There's a lot of investment going into batteries. A hell of a lot that we're not watching at the moment. I'd love to get in touch with Bobby Llewellyn and just sit down with him for a few minutes and make a video on where he's going with it. But we'll see. I don't know whether that'll work or not. Hydrogen will have a limited future, but I'm not sure it's going to be a big one. Cross says, that's a bit of a myth. Most of the EV owners I know are in rural Ireland heading 40,000 kilometres plus. I was commuting from Portlaoise to Dublin every day for 3 years. I get that. I get both ends of that argument. If you are an EV owner, or if you're someone who's had a longer test of an EV, I can see straight away you'll have no problem. You just look at it and go, yeah, that's easy. Sure, what's the problem? Why would you even think about not driving to Galway in it? It's easy. But if you've been driving a petrol or diesel car your whole life and you're looking at electric for the very first time, to you it's a totally unknown technology. It's like moving from a flip phone or an old Nokia phone into a modern iPhone. It just looks like a foreign object to you. So it's a much more difficult prospect, generally speaking, than you think it is. It should be easy, and if it is easy if you actually do it, but there is somewhat of a myth to go with it that country people can't deal with electric cars. They can, they just don't want to right now. Amazon DE better prices than Amazon UK? Yeah, kind of. Depends on the currency conversion. Amazon hide a lot of how would I put this? Amazon are arses. They hide a lot of their prices. So you go on as an Irish individual and they show you all the prices in UK sterling, and then when you get to the end, after you've put everything into your basket, after you've clicked next and next and next and next and next and deliver here and do all that sort of stuff, it shows you an estimate of what it's going to be in euro after you've figured out how much delivery is and everything, and then suddenly you realize I can't buy a thing with a battery in it because they don't deliver the batteries to Ireland. It's a real pain in the ass, right? Amazon.de is the same, but at least you're looking in euro. At least the prices are in euro already. When you're browsing on a site, everything's in euro. If you go, just Google, if you have Google Chrome, the browser, and you Google the Google Translate setting, you can turn it on the setting on your browser. So when you go to Google or go to Amazon.de, it just refreshes the page and puts everything into English. It works perfectly, by the way. And your account that's on Amazon.co.uk works on Amazon.de. Works on all Amazons. There is actually a website that compares the prices through each one of the Amazons, showing you the product. What is that website called? Anyway, it shows you the product, whichever Amazon has is cheapest. Because in the EU, sorry English people are going to relax for a second, but within the EU area, you're allowed to buy anything you want from any other EU nation and not pay any import tax. Welcome to the EU. Eric Cross says, Ori, comment on Skoda chassis. Rear suspension on lower level Octavia is a bit more basic than the sophisticated setup on the more expensive models. Correctamundo. All car companies do that. All car companies make a higher car version of their cars, which is generally the underpinnings of the car is very cheap because they have to be. I feel the Irish politicians working on Brexit currently come across as intelligent and professional compared to the UK counterparts, although I wouldn't have voted for either. You see, the Irish can stand back and be professional because they've nothing to lose or gain by whatever the UK is going to do, because the UK has to make the decision. Ireland doesn't have to make the decision. We can say no to things. Like, we can say no to enforcing a hard border between Northern Ireland and Ireland, because to enforce that we have to supply Gardaí and military up there to guard our side of the border. So we can say no to certain things, but it means we can stand back and kind of go, yeah, well, make a decision and then stick to it. Like, Sean Neilbud says you can make hydrogen from natural gas. The Clarity had some charging stations. Yep. And I actually got a little kind of mess around inside the Toyota. What's the big Toyota, the new one that they're after bringing out that is a hydrogen car? They had it in Ireland here for a couple of days. I just happened to be in Toyota one day when it was there, and I just had a poke about. It looked ordinary enough, but I was running on hydrogen, and they were constantly watching the fuel gauge because there's no hydrogen filling station in Ireland. Cross, who is an absolute mind of intelligence when it comes to fuel sources, 95% of hydrogen is made by reforming natural gas. It's twice the price of petrol and 15 to 20 times the price of electricity. You still need a battery and performance is terrible. There you go. So you still need a battery. Well, that's what I was saying. You could have a hydrogen that charges a battery that runs a car. There was a great future for it to some degree, but it's not a good replacement. Right now, it's definitely not a good replacement for batteries or petrol or diesel. It's not a straight replacement for petrol, which was the idea behind it. Was we just go to a petrol station and put some hydrogen in and drive on. That was the plan. It doesn't work out that way though. It's a lot more expensive than that. It's really hard to make. Interesting, your hydrogen info, but you need to make oil. You need oil to make electric, unless you take the electric from wind or wave or renewable resource in general. So you're right to some degree. You still need oil. It's still heat fired, but you need less of everything. However, it works out. Hydrogen is a difficult future, but right now to make electricity, right now this minute, you can make it from 100% renewable if a government is motivated enough to do that. The Irish government is not. We still have a peat-fired electricity system north of me here. Anyway, it's there, but that's going as well. It's on the way out. Brian Cullen says, Bob, given what you're saying about small 1 litre engine in a bigger car, what about the longevity of the new 1 litre engine in the likes of Octavia or even Ateca? Of this exact same opinion, that doesn't change. It's a decent engine. You would never know when you drive a 1 litre Skoda Octavia. You would never know it's a 1 litre unless someone told you it was. That doesn't make the longevity of the engine any better. I still think a bigger engine will last longer because it's under less pressure. It's under less stress the whole time. And I think this idea that we put a small engine into a big car is the same as putting a small battery into a flagship version of a phone. You put a 1500 milliamp hour battery into a flagship phone that lasts 2 hours and it's dead. You put the same one, you put a big engine or put a big battery into the phone that lasts 10 hours. It's better. If you're going to use a car every day, still diesel is going to be your cheapest option. Electric is going to be the better option. Right now you can definitely work an electric engine very hard and have 100% of its power all the time, never fades out. But a little tiny 1 litre turbo engine in a big car can't possibly last forever. Just can't. Not as big as effective reality. Yeah, Sean, but crime has dropped 10% worldwide since lead came out of petrol. It's not far wrong. You can buy additive to put the lead back in petrol for old classic cars. It's so dry, it damages. Unleaded petrol damages old classic cars. It's very dry. It just doesn't burn properly. It's funny like that. Mike, I've actually worked with H2 in the military applications. Electrolysis is really inefficient. For the same amount of electricity, you can just charge an EV and go 5 to 10 times further. You got a lot more losses after the electrolysis and compression or liquefaction. Storage losses, at least 50% loss in fuel cell, etc. You see, you just can't argue with the facts. Electric cars and electric battery technology right now is not at its pinnacle by a long way. There's still a lot more to come from electric things. I think we're going to see a continued uptake of electric over time. The problem is the brain conversion it takes for people. I still see older journalists and I still see younger journalists do it as well. They get an electric car and the first thing they do is go, right, let's test this car by driving to Cork. That's not how you test an electric car. You just use it every day like you would normally. What's the problem? You wanted to replace what you got. So you just do the normal journeys up and down to town. My Seat Leon, which is a 1.6 litre petrol, owes me nothing. I own the car. It's long since on the go. That car did 4,000 kilometres last year. I could have walked. I walked that. I ran 1,500 kilometres last year. So what, like 4,000 kilometres? Why am I even paying for a car? Why don't I just walk or cycle everywhere? But if I was going to replace that tomorrow, it would be 100% electric. I'd buy Generation 1, Generation 2 Nissan Leaf, or I'd get something along those lines. Something cheap, efficient. They're not very cheap anymore, but cheap and efficient. And I'd replace the car with that and use an electric car. It would cost me zero per year, literally. Only insurance and tax, whatever the tax is, 150 quid or something. No point. You'd be crazy at the moment to replace a 10 or 11 year old car with something petrol or diesel and not consider electric at some point. Not look at the actual facts and figures and see is it possible for you. I know I've had users come to me, they've bought in electric, they hated it, and they went back to diesel or petrol. Just, I don't know why. I can't tell exactly why they hated it, but they hated it, and that was the end of it. So it's hard for me to say that we've got a 100% electric future for us when you have Mazda who are saying petrol engines still around. You've got BMW and Volkswagen saying the diesel engine's still around. We can still keep using diesel. Citroen launched, or it was Citroen or Renault or Peugeot or someone anyway the other day. Same again. We see a good future for diesel engines in the car. You know, so it's hard to point at it and go, definitely electric's the only way to go. It's not the only way to go, but it's definitely, for right now, it's a great fit for what we want to do, and it works, and you can replace everything you do right now with an electric car fairly easily. Great to have so many people attached to the stream today. It's really good. Really good response all day. We got about a half an hour left of the stream. We're on for about an hour and a half at this stage, so it's pretty good. So just a friendly reminder again, if you can support this stream in any way possible, because it's moving to its own channel from next week, definitely it's going to be on its own channel called the Sunday Service. I'll make it live later on today. I'm going to put the announcement up on Facebook, and I'm going to do it here as well. It'll have its own channel from this point onwards. If you can support that in any way, it's brilliant. I'm not going to monetize that channel, so there won't be any ads or anything showing on it for the time being. Just let it run and see what happens. So any support you can give would be brilliant. This is something I do every Sunday, of course. You could do it by PayPal, bobflav@thenextgear.com, or you can do it here by Super Chat. Super Chat will not be available on the other channel either, so that's going to be a problem too. It's going to continue going that way. We'll see if we can get everything running on it. Hopefully, it'll be very good, but it needs to get 4,000 watch hours per year or something, and a certain amount of subscribers to go with it. So it even though it's me, a big channel, creating another channel, that other channel starts as if it's not attached to me at all. It starts as a brand new channel with no monetization, no nothing on it. So you have to prove its case straight off the mark. But anything you can do, of course, support channels, always very good. Thank you very much for all your support so far this year. It's been very much appreciated. Where were we? Great White. Big night tonight. William Jannon. Thank you very much. You're very, very good. Thank you. You'll be very kind. It just supported by PayPal. Did you have a question there? No? Sorry, I missed that. It only showed me half the answer. It's the problem. I'm just going to flick up here and make sure that person hasn't got an actual question. William Jan, thank you very much. US dollars. US dollars. We're watching from the US area. You don't see money. No, I do see money in the country. All right. And of course, earlier on, Michael Burke sent money as well. Didn't ask any questions. That's really good. You're very kind. Thank you very much. But paypal.com and then bobflav@thenextgear.com is my email address when you're there. Or you can click the link down in the list below. Is also there. Big night tonight. Bob Hamilton looking to secure his 5th title in Texas. Ferrari have handed it to him. Is that petrol Mazda 165 brake horsepower, and the CX-5 is getting great reviews. I'm looking forward to Mazda tomorrow. I haven't driven a Mazda in a little while because they didn't really have any new cars to make a video about. They had the cars on the fleet, but they didn't have new cars. And this is a new car, so it's kind of good. I enjoyed the MX-5. I drove that in Romania. That's coming out next year here in Ireland. And in regards to Texas and the Circuit of the Americas, I have driven that. I have driven on that in a BMW X6M. And it was funny when I was watching the other day, going up along the main straight, and I was going, yeah, you go right to the top of that. And it's much more vertical. The actual track is much more vertical on that straight than the rest of it actually looks. When you see it on TV, you go, wow, that looks like a hill, all right. When you're driving up it, it's a proper vertical hill as you're going up along. And then it goes into a left-hand turn and down another kind of a straight. That turn is not as wide, so everything happens on that first corner on the Circuit of the Americas. We see how Hamilton gets on. If he gets there, he's good on that track. Hamilton's always been good on Texas. I don't know why, whether it just suits him or whatever. It's a lovely area. It's a funny spot actually where it is. It's a very flat area around Texas, that area. Beautiful though. Someone has just donated £10 in, you're very generous, in Super Chat. Jay, I'm sorry, it only should be Jay at the top. I'll get to your name in a second. I'll come down the bottom. No, thank you very much. You're very kind. So big shout out to all the lovely subscribers. And of course the guys who've been doing it for months, years even, over on Patreon, who never really asked for anything. They got a live stream. You get a live one-to-one chat with me if you do €10 a month over on one-to-one. No one else involved, just me and you talking live for whatever length of time till you get bored. I might change those little things over on Patreon if everyone wants to do Patreon. It's an easy little drip feed, yuck. Brian Cullen, Amazon UK can be snaky. Yeah, you're right. Add a couple of euro every time they have Irish customers. I don't know if they do that, but it always seems like you see the price in sterling and it's like £10. You go, oh, that'll be alright. That's going to be about maybe €12. Then it turns out to be €14, 20, and you're going, okay, €14. Is that include delivery? No, €2 for delivery or whatever it is, you know. So it just kind of adds up very fast. I just find dealing with Amazon DE means I'm looking at the price in euro, and I understand how euro works. So there's no conversion involved. It's just that's it, and then delivery on top of that, and you're done. But delivery is delivery. Delivery is just a cost that has to be paid anyway. ST1 saying, look, instead of waiting for an electric Focus, once the mainstream everyday models get into electric, that would be the game changer. Yeah, once they stop making, so like Kia could have made an electric Ceed, and instead they made an electric Nero. You know what I mean? So when they all have, like, VW is the only one who went, right, Golf electric. That's the only one I've seen just take a current model ordinary car and make it electric without shouting about it. They're on a second generation now. I'll have one, I think it's December or something like that. So I'm actually looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to a full electric test. So I'm hoping to get in touch with Cross there, who's going to give me all of the details on the electric cars and what I should be looking for. Maybe what way should I test it? How should I test that car? Should it be something that I really test in a certain way, or should I test it like an ordinary car? Should I prove something that a car can do, the electric car can do, the petrol car can't, or whatever? Anyway, it'll happen soon enough. In the countries, that was Johnny. Johnny, you're very kind. Johnny, thank you very much for your donation. It will go into the great big kitty in the sky that runs this channel and keeps it free. And don't forget, next week we're going to make a whole new Sunday Service channel called the Sunday Service channel, and that's it. I'll randomize the video so it'll have other things beyond the Sunday Service on it, not just a once a week live stream video channel. I'll make other little videos that I'll put up into it as well. We'll see how it pans out. Maybe some exercise videos, maybe some tips and tricks on fixing cars, repairing cars or something. I don't know, we'll see. One of them will turn up eventually. In the countries you can use the sun to produce hydrogen, we'll probably make it happen. We want more environmental cars, that is, batteries have their own problems when we look at the production. As we covered already, the problem with hydrogen is you still need a battery. Hydrogen on its own is not a direct petrol replacement. It's not very efficient in that respect. It's more efficient when it's charging a battery, but you could just charge the battery from the sun directly with solar panels instead of having to use hydrogen in the middle. Is just probably just as efficient. I haven't got a half an hour. I've washed our cars, and next I will change to winter tires. In the end of next week we could ever get snow. I don't even we're going to get snow, lads. It doesn't look like that kind of snow out there right now. Johnny says, hey Bob, hope all is well. Only just got the notification, didn't pop up. No, all is well. We are 20 minutes from the end, but thank you very much for joining and very much for providing some money towards the big kitty. It's very good of you. You'd produce hydrogen by first generating electricity from solar PV that you can just use directly in an EV without all the hassle. I watched a really good video one time about it. It's the Tesla, but you can buy it from other companies as well. It's a battery wall. So if I was building a house tomorrow, or even converting this house to do it, my dream would be to have a little wind turbine somewhere, right? Some solar panels on the roof. They are all charging a battery bank that's out on the wall outside. It's big enough to run the house for 12 or 14 hours on its own, maybe longer. And I'd have an electric car that's charging from that battery wall out there, and all of that would be charged myself. I would basically be off the grid. That's the dream. That's already happening. It's not even a dream. You can achieve that now today. I've seen houses do this. So it's totally possible to run a household without having hydrogen or gas or electricity or any of that stuff happening. It's all running from batteries. This is totally possible and being done right now. I actually think Bobby Llewellyn in the UK, I was in the back of a car with Bob Llewellyn one time. We were getting a lift on a BMW thing. Was it BMW? I don't remember. We're on something. It was in the UK anyway. Nice guy. He already does this, I think, in his house. He's got a video explaining how he did that, as far as I remember. Toyota's fuel cell stack in the Mirai, that's the thing I said in Dublin we're messing around with, is hand built. It costs 60 grand. It contains a huge amount of platinum. Yeah, well, you know what happens with platinum? Lads steal it. That's what happens next. Everybody steals it out of the car. No, everyday bread and butter Repmobiles, Focus and Astra. Alright, so really basic electric cars. Just send €10 PayPal. Derek Norris. Did you, Derek? I'll check now, Derek. Hold on 1 second. Make sure it comes through. Some people do get confused about where it's coming, and I want to make sure everyone gets it. There's no problem with it, but I want to make sure everyone gets the answer that they're looking for. I didn't. Oh, yes, I did. Hold on. I did get it. From. I'll check for you now. Derek Norris, you're very kind. So kind. €10 sent by PayPal. You're so good. Thank you very, very much for your support. It's hugely important. It really does. It funds the entire thing. I don't get advertising. In case anyone's getting weird about it, I don't get advertising money from car companies. Every other publication in Ireland, or most publications in Ireland, have advertising that pays wages, that pays their way. They get paid as contributors to it. They get paid as whatever it is, freelancers or whatever it is that they get paid for. I don't. I just make the videos. I get the cars. I make the videos. I put it up here on YouTube. So YouTube do everything here. But that also gives me an enormous freedom to be able to say whatever I want to say, and give any review I like without really concerning myself. My daughter has just sent me an email a second ago saying she'd like it in the stream. So if my daughter's watching the stream, she's 10. So I always try and keep them clean here so everybody can watch the stream no matter what age they are. But thank you very much. My young daughter's watching the stream as well. What's a chod car, Bob? Saw you post on Facebook with Chevrolet Epica. That is something that came up through a pile of motoring journalists in the UK, a chod car. So it's a car that owes nothing to the world, right? But it's now become cool again. A good example of a chod car would be a Renault Laguna. So it came out, it was like a rep car. It wasn't great. It was okay to drive. It was a bit bland. Ordinary people bought it. Repmobile thing. But now, if you see a Mark 1 Renault Laguna on the road, you kind of go, God, that's a good looking car. It's come back around. So that's a kind of a chod car. A car that owes nothing anymore. Don't mention this Antita at this point. But, chod cars are like that kind of thing. That's the idea of chod. So if you see a decent car that you think might be a car that you still desire now, but when it came out it was crap. Another one would be a Nissan Almera. Thinking of first Dacia Sanderos. They're kind of chod cars on the way. Johnny says, is Andy not on today? No, he's not. He's working today, so he can't be here. He did send his apologies to me by a direct message on Facebook, which he doesn't have to, of course. He's just a moderator to the channel. I just added him as a moderator for the channel so he could help keep everyone in check, because we don't really get much aggression on the channel. In fairness, hardly anyone ever comes across as being an idiot, but the odd day. And sometimes I'm so far behind in the questions that I don't see what's happening further down the list, so I just needed someone else to keep their eye on that, and so he does. There's no money in it. Nobody gets paid. Like someday I'll buy him a good pint of Guinness. Apparently a lot of ships use electric motors powered by diesel. Recently batteries are being used that get swapped out at docks like any other cargo. Shipping still has a big problem with diesel. Still has a big problem with the amount of, just the sheer amount of fumes to come out of some of those shipping containers as they're moving around, super tankers and things. So there is a bit of a problem there, but that's, I'd say, the least of our worries. Now it's the agriculture industry that really needs to pull itself together at the moment. There's a bit of a problem with that. They do, just as an industry, they do absorb the world's water levels, the CO2 levels, the emissions that come off, the amount, just the sheer volume of farm animals that are out there that have to be kept. It's on a different scale of things. The farming industry in general, they're tidying up as well. There's a lot of people going vegetarian. I'm a vegetarian. There's a lot of people going vegetarian these years. The farm industry is starting to learn its lesson pretty quick, as less and less people want to eat meat. I have a home battery and solar, even in my Dublin apartment, arrays on the roof, and every apartment has a dedicated array. There is actually a law in Ireland when you're building a new house now. You have to put in a provision for charging systems and solar panels and so on the roof. So it is actually, here we have actually, my God, we made a good law. But you know, it can be done. It can definitely be done retroactively as well. I just don't have a gigantic amount of money to throw at a charging system when I get such cheap electricity anyway. But it's just I don't have an electric car. If I had an electric car, I would certainly consider the battery return system, where you get an idea how much the battery is giving you back. Don't forget to hit that like button, lads. Great show, says Thomas O. Thank you very much, Thomas O. Very good. Chad, a Rover 620 Ti DCSC, yes, C, anything Rover actually, or MG would be kind of on the Chad level at the moment, for sure. There's one or two out there that Rover 40, it was a 45, it's like a long saloon car. It was desperately bad to drive, but it was still something about the car that I always liked. A bit like some of the old Jags that drove like crap but had great engines, lovely big V8s and V6s that were under the bonnets. They're all gone, of course, never to be seen again. Chances are we'll never see a V8 in an ordinary car anymore. Actually, I have a request. If anyone knows anyone who's selling a BMW 6 Series, I'm looking for the 4.4 litre V8 version of it. I have someone who has been bothering me for a number of weeks for one of those cars. Almost had him one. Exterior is a bit rough on it, mind you. A little bit rough on the outside. Low mileage, but it was sold by the time he went and pulled his finger out to actually go and look at the bloody car after I'd found it. But anyway, Stena Line is starting to convert ferries running from Gothenburg to German ports, starting with enough batteries just to handle the port duties, but with an upgrade path going to electric on the whole route. That is a really good idea, because an awful lot of things, they need bow thrusters and port thrusters and things that are underneath, nothing to do with the actual turbine in the back, or with the engines that are running across the ocean, whereas they can turn left and right using a bow thruster, which is another jet that comes down and fires sideways. It's an interesting electrical thing. Some of the smaller yachts have that sort of stuff as well on them. Sometimes it's run by electricity, sometimes run by the battery bank that's inside it. There's some interesting stuff that's happening. Some of the ro-ro ferries that are out there are running electric as well, small ones that are, you know, going back and forward across small areas. Norway has several electric ferries in service at the same time class as a Tarbert ferry. I've been on a Tarbert ferry. That is a lovely little ferry. Lovely thing to go across. It's funny when you get there and you jump on the ferry, you're still in Ireland, you're just going across that thing. It's really cool. Some beautiful places to go in Ireland that have ferries and stuff. Northern Ireland, I did the ferry one time. We drove into California all the way across the top half of Northern Ireland till we reached that little part where you get on the Ro-Ro and go across to Donegal. You're actually going from Northern Ireland to the Republic of Ireland on a ferry. It's pretty cool. Pretty cool to do that sort of thing. We are, of course, God, we're still so many of you watching this. Really popular day. Again, another popular day. Hopefully, don't forget to check in with us on the Facebook page, the Sunday Service Community on Facebook, which I will just check on now, just quickly. Be sure no one's sitting there waiting to be part of our lovely community and all of our stuff that's inside of it. Where do you get into that? Members. Administration, is it? No, admin. Yeah, I'll get around to it again. I get so there's so many things to remember. There is so many different ways of doing things. We're moderating the group. Yeah, we're okay. We're all right. Everybody's in, I think, who's going to be in at any one point. I have it on my phone as well. But if you want to join us over on Facebook, it is the Sunday Service Community on Facebook. As really active. Everybody's in there having a chat. We're having a laugh. So if you're part of this group and you got a Facebook page or a Facebook account by yourself, you can come over to us and join in on Facebook as well, because that's where we're going to put out some of the announcements on the community and things. Here we go. See, there's our page there. Live Sunday Service Community. You can join us on the admin stuff over there. There is someone waiting. Hold on, I'm going to check it. Jack Quigley. Good man. Jack Quigley, who is just approved. I'm going to approve you right there. He lives in Nina. Good man, Jack. Has just become a member there a second ago. So if you want to be part of that group, join us over the Sunday Service. There is a link, I think, down below in the stream options or in the information panel. Join us over there and get into that community, because we're going to put announcements for the next Sunday Service, which will be on its own channel from next week. The channel is called a Sunday Service. I was doing a bit of work on it this morning. There's no videos on it yet, so it won't appear in any searches. I'll make another video over the week to put up as an introduction video to it, but then the Sunday Service will live there and this channel that you're watching it on will become just car reviews and just other stuff around the edge, because seemingly the Sunday service watch time, average watch time for people, is a half an hour, right? Which is unbelievably high for YouTube. It's weird on YouTube. The average watch time on YouTube is like 3 minutes. That's how long people watch a video. Doesn't matter if the video is 10 minutes or not. Now that's average over time. But what the Sunday service actually gets people to watch for much, much longer. So YouTube love that. They love that. The problem is, when I put up a recorded video that's 10 minutes long or 7 minutes long, it demotes that because it's not long enough. It's not, people aren't watching 20 minutes of it because there isn't 20 minutes of video of it. So I have a choice of putting up a 20-minute video like Doug DeMuro, who makes a video. I can't understand why people are so attracted to his channel. I watch some of his videos, but just go on so long, and just so long. It's like, God, that's the longest review I've ever had of a car. But they're nonetheless, it's a great channel. He just hires the cars, doesn't get them that way. But I either go that route and put up 20-25 minute videos at a time, which is ridiculously long. No, I don't think anyone's going to watch it. Or I move the Sunday service off the channel so the watch time changes to compensate for the lack of the Sunday service, which will promote the channel more in the future. So it'd be interesting. I don't know what's a study. I almost got more comments here. Norway has, oh, we did that one. It would be a good idea to drop annual road fund tax and just charge the fuel, whether petrol, electric or otherwise. I wrote an article on that maybe 4 or 5 years ago, which was published on the Independent, and it was published on RTE, and I went on television, or went on radio, and I talked about it on several different channels, RTE included, RTE1, Radio 2, and many others. 100%. The simplest solution. Tomorrow I could solve all of our problems. You close all the tax offices, you stop the guards wandering around the roads at night time with torches shining through windows, all of that. Court cases, they all fall out, not paying tax. Nobody goes to prison for you. If you buy fuel, you buy tax. It's been done in in New Zealand and Australia for years and years. I lived in New Zealand in the year 2000 or something, and that's, you didn't pay tax or insurance. You just put fuel in your car and that was all paid. Basic level insurance and a basic level tax all came from paying petrol. So it's 100% there. I've been banging on about it for years. The government don't want to do it because it's too complicated. Now other journalists have kind of copped onto it and went, it's actually a good idea. Maybe I could bang my drum a little bit by rewriting an article that I wrote. My article is about 4 or 5 years old at this stage. So yes, you could just move road tax instantaneously overnight to petrol, and you will solve all the problems in the blink of an eye. I don't understand why people go to church when they could just watch this at better Sunday service. You know what you could do? Get a pair of headphones, sit in the church and watch the Sunday service in a church. That would just be rocking. Like, maybe I should do the Sunday service from a church. All of the walls tend to be a bit thick to get a broadcast through, so I'm not too sure about that. When's the confessional open? It's always open, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. On your knees, Rob, and give me your confession. Back of a Land Rover 90, yeah, you could do that. Was a Rover 75 that you like? There you go, Rover 75. It was long saloon, 3-box saloon car, kind of curvy, 4 headlights on the front of it. Looked like a Jag, but it was actually an MG. Rover. It was a Rover, sorry. Made by the same company. Rover 75, I think, sounds about right. Great engines. A V6 petrol engine had that. It was really old-fashioned V6. And it burbled along. Made a great noise. Car drove crap though. Huge steering wheel. And the seats were on the floor, so you couldn't see over the top of the steering wheel. It was really stupid. But it was a great car. It would be great chod now. Good collector's item at this stage. Anything Rover or MG at this stage, if you collect any of that, you're going to make a fortune now. Because they'll come back into fashion eventually. I'm a heathen, says Huggle K. What did I do? Who's a heathen? What do you mean I'm a heathen? I probably am actually a heathen at first. I'm an atheist. Is that the same as being a heathen? No. Back of a Land Rover. There's a song in there somewhere. There is. All the things that have ever happened in the back of a Land Rover. Land Rovers, by the way, Land Rover Defenders drive crap. There's no room for human beings. You drive like this. Do you ever notice that all Land Rover drivers drive with their arm out the window? Do you ever notice that all year? They've always got a farmer's tan on one side. The reason is you don't actually fit in the front seat for Land Rover. I always sit like this with my elbow in my chest wall. Like that. Didn't the 75 have a Mustang V8? You could spec it with a Mustang V8. You could certainly, yeah. They did it with Ford. Actually, Ford, I think, bought the original Mustang head block from Rover. Maybe that was the other way around. The original V8 head block. I can't remember whether it came from Rover or came from Ford. One or the other made it first. The other one started to use it as well. And Rover made their own V6. But the V6 was the one to actually have. The V8 gave a lot of problems. A lot of trouble with V8s. Older V8s, if they were really noisy when they were cold, were crap. They'd just break. And most V8s are like that, by the way. If you look at anything V8, if you start it when it's cold and it's really noisy, making put sounds, and it doesn't seem to want to settle down, that's a broke V8. Forget about it, man. Walk away. Anyway, we have come to the end of the Sunday service. It has been a wonderful 2 hours here with you on this beautiful channel. Hopefully you will join me next week on our new channel, the new home of the Sunday service, where we'll grow this community even further. Check out the links down below. Head over to Facebook and join our Facebook group. That's where all the announcements will go from now on. And I'll announce them here on the channel as well. So we do have the channel that we can do, announcements on. But YouTube don't really promote that for you. So it doesn't really help in the long scheme of things. But I'd love to be able to have your company next week here on the channel. Of course, you can check it out on iTunes. You can go over to Podbean or whatever it is. Wherever you get your podcast from, this appears as well. So if you're listening on a podcast, you are one of the chosen few who have made it to number 13 in the charts on the iTunes. Being that this is a podcast for 2 hours where only one person does all the talking. It's really hard to do. And I'm not a radio station, but it doesn't really matter. That's okay. It's been absolutely pleasure having you around today. Hopefully you will join me next week. Don't forget to support the channel any way you possibly can. Is always brilliant. But until the next time, I will see you on the far side.